bench have agreed that you have that capacity to argue your case. But I want to tell you guys that Ruto is scheming for 2027 more than ever in what he's doing here now. What is happening is that Ruto wants to confuse everyone so that the elephant in the room, which is IBC, is kept at bay. He wants to manipulate it. If there's nothing that is happening in this country, then every person's eye will be at IBC. So for him to really get your eyes and your attention off the IEBC, Ruto wants to bring each and every kind. So you want to go to the court today because of the CSS. Tomorrow we'll need to go to the street because of 1 or 2, 3. Tomorrow we need to go to the court. So when these things are happening, time is going out. Time is going out until you'll just realize that Ruto has put his people at the IEBC for manipulations of the result. So as much as we are looking for all these issues, let us not take everything on board. We will not really manage. Let us be specific. If I'm saying that we want to occupy everything and everywhere, we will not make it. I can assure you, we may not make it. If we need to occupy, let us occupy one thing and let it be successful. And yesterday I said very well, and I still say it. Let us not go to Uhuru Park. It will not add any value. Let us identify a serious government institution like Parliament, and let us ensure that there's no business that Parliament will transact until our demands are met. If it is not Parliament, let us just focus on ensuring that there's no activity going on at the JKIA, so that once you attach the JKIA and Parliament, that news will circulate across the globe. Across the globe. When we go to Uhuru Park, that news will not even go past Limuru, because Uhuru Park is a place known.
Thank you, Ms. Annie. There's one thing I would love to bring about before I even do my submission. Is I think the Gen Z should come to this realization. Yes, they may have started the agitation this year, and they may have given it the name the Gen Z, but they need to learn from history that we have the Tony Gashoka, we have the late Wangari Maathai, we have the Shikukus, who started this journey of writing the Constitution, the 2010 Constitution, and they are privileged that they will be the it. I think that's what they are. Those are the two things we need to connect. That this 2010 Constitution was written by a different generation, so that they get to enjoy the freedoms that Gashoka did not enjoy. I think I've passed my point, but let me go to my submission. The question is, Ruto, whether he's tone deaf, incompetent, hostage to old politics. And I would want Tony to help me on this one. I don't believe Ruto is incompetent. I believe Ruto, and I don't think he's tone deaf. He couldn't have ascended to that point if he doesn't have a good listening ear. I think Ruto is held hostage. He's held hostage to several things. He's held hostage by his ambition, his friends, the 2010 Constitution, and this new generation of thinkers. And I'll go one by one. His ambition. Ruto, in the words of Millie Ojiambo, when Millie Ojiambo interviewed Ruto, he said that when Ruto walked into my office, I knew he harbored the ambition to be president. So throughout Ruto's political journey, he went forming alliances all the way from 1992. That's why I say he's held hostage by his friend. Number two, where his friends come in. So in that journey, he met Chirchir, he met Duale, he met this lawyer Kindiki, he met Akina Sudi somewhere in the back alleys, and the Murkomens. So once they started crafting this government, promises were made. A pact was made. Let me say, like an oath. They took an oath that if we get you to that office, there's reducible minimums. And how do you get to realize this? When KK, the URP, were crafting the cabinet, it is said Kindiki was to be the vice president. But somehow, Gachagua got the position. So Kindiki bolted out. In fact, it is said he went home and Ruto had to go and really convince him to come back. And hence he was given the second most powerful position, which is a seat he is actually occupying. That is how his friends are holding Alice Wahome. Why? Why? Because that promise was made years before this position was held. Now, how is Ruto held hostage by the Constitution? We must realize this, and Tony, I think, will help me on this, that a constitution is only as good as the people tasked to implement it. If you give the perfect constitution to bad people, it will still remain a bad constitution because the implementers are bad. So the old constitution serves the interests of Ruto. Why? Because Ruto is a product of the old constitution. Okay, but he has to abide by the new constitution. So that's how the constitution is holding him hostage. The other group of
to that point,
yeah.
I would pose it to you this question, which is, so are we saying then, for example, in the United States, because that is a country that functions at least for its people, for the American people, the United States functions. Are we saying then that every single president in the United States and everyone in government are principled and ethical? Because I can tell you with certainty they are not. So
Okay.
and I argue that it's because of the system in place that the country functions for the citizens.
I was actually going to quote I was actually going to allude to the US Constitution. Let me tell you, the US Constitution, that's the oldest democracy. And I'll give an example. When the, what is it called? The Gettysburg speech, that all humans are created equal. Okay? But you find, even if they realize that all people are equal regardless of color and where they come from, to date, the Black Americans are still fighting to exercise that right that is bestowed to them in the Constitution. So the implementation of a Constitution is a continuous fight. Why is it a continuous fight? Because a Constitution is implemented by different generations. Okay? That is why Barack Obama, people cried. Because most people saw the Constitution having achieved a milestone, that we are all equal, that now we have a black president. But we must not forget, during Barack Obama's time, BLM was born, Black Lives Matter. Why? Because they still felt, after we have a black president, we are still oppressed the same way Martin Luther was. Have I answered your question on that? So a constitution is implemented by different generations. So there'll always be a fight. Even after this, we shall still not, we can't keep on changing the constitution. We just keep on amending it to suit and perfecting it. I hope I've answered your question, and citing the example of Barack Obama and the BLM movement.
You have that
Now,
and you said all men are created equal, which was written by a slave owner, right?
Yeah.
The irony of that. So clearly, a very imperfect man, more than imperfect, an evil man. He was a slave owner, the person who wrote that. That all men are created equal, right?
But his ideals were correct. He was a slave owner, but the ideals that all men are equal under God was a good idea.
All right. Please wind down.
You must give him
correct.
that.
Please wind down. 30 seconds.
Oh, okay. Now, where my last contribution is the new wave. This is generation that is in. We are in now. The old constitution, and I would say we're in a transitional period, because the old constitution is giving way to the new constitution. And the people who are buying the new constitution are these Gen Zs and the millennials and the alphas. In what way? They are saying equivocally that we are tribeless, leaderless. But we, the Rutos and the Duales, are still holding on to tribe. That is why when we are implementing cabinet positions, we go back to the tribal card, that we must maintain regional balance. And that is the disconnect. Because the Gen Zs are saying, I am a lawyer, but I am not saying a lawyer must be in cabinet. I'm saying the competent person must be in cabinet. Why are they saying this? Because most Gen Zs do not even care about their tribe. They don't even talk their native language. So that's how the president today is hostage. He's hostage to all those things. And I think he's also hostage to global economics. So he's in a very bad place, and I don't know how will we go out from it. So those are my submissions.
Thank you, Tony. Mizani, welcome back. You had dropped. Let's go to Redemptor, George, and Xerox in that order.
Thank you very much. It is a privilege for me to be given the mic. I think I am in the presence of great Kenyans. I'll try to stick to the topic, but I've had all these conversations for the last 2 hours, so it will interfere with my thought process. Is the president tone deaf? I'm here for self-preservations. I like to make this disclaimer. I'm here kama mwandishi, mtetezi, mzazi na mwananchi, and a very active citizens. So that gives me permission to come and make submissions in these platforms. As a mzazi, I am tone deaf to small children. I don't even hear them talk. I believe our president is tone deaf to human rights. And I think sometimes people are born that way. There are people who are just not aware. And so what has happened in Kenya today? The Gen Zs are not just shaking the tree and bad fruits coming out. I think they will uproot this tree because they have the numbers. There has been weaponization of poverty in this country. And we used to have this joke that one day the poor will come out and eat the rich people because the rich people will be so poor. The idea that I'm seeing the divide of when the Gen Zs are, the ones who are not woke will come and talk down on the older generation just by virtue of the age and assume you don't know anything about liberating this country. And I've gone to platforms and my mic has been switched off because I've said some of us carry scars from trying to speak truth to power. I am saying I'm privileged to be in front of Tony Gashoka because when we were young, we used to tune in to our radio stations. I think it was Kiss that came with that kind of openness and listen to a talk show called Crossfire. And they would argue with the late Mutula Kilonzo Jr. and Senior, not debate about a just society and governance and the laws of the land. And that's where people started, the older generation, the ones that are being referred to as they don't know what's going on in Kenya. And the reason I'm bringing this is not just to give Tony his flowers, but to also say the reason why this revolution is so organic is because of the information era. I listened to Miriam speak, and I've listened to somebody else make submission, and they've said the Ministry of the Interior Ministry is the most powerful ministry. That scares me. Why is it powerful? It's supposed to be the ministry or the docket that protects Kenyans. But if we are honest with ourselves, the reason why some of these dockets are superior is because of entrepreneurship. And so when Miriam spoke, I think we are looking at, we are attacking personalities, we are not attacking the office. The reason why people end up being attacked and it feels like it's personal is because they make it personal. I have followed the words of the Minister for Interior as a human rights defender, documenting massacres in this country, and he makes it personal. He does not make it about the value of human life. And so what is going to happen now? We can come here and say these young people are headless, they are leaderless, they are clueless. But the truth is they have one agenda and one agenda only, most of them. It is to survive. Of course, people have taken advantage of them, of the movement. But others, we've come alive because we are losing our sanity at the rate of which they used to be called extrajudicial killings, and now I'm told they are called summary executions, where the young people are being told you have no right to live. Because if you deny me the opportunity to speak up and say, look, you have pushed us to the corner and now we are coming, we are informed, we know our rights. I've heard somebody saying they don't want the constitution, and that's ignorance because they did not experience the Lancaster constitution in terms of being held hostage by the two old politics. The two old politics are also tone deaf to human rights violations. So what's the scorecard for me for Kindiki as a CS? He came on a national TV where people tune in, over 10 million Kenyans tune in, and his tone when he was talking about how many people have died. When you come and downplay what an organization mandated by the government to give us a body count, and you give a different, and you downplay numbers. So as we speak, we have how many unresolved, no justice, no reparation, no chances of reparation justice, a gas explosion, the Njaa revolution protests that were hijacked by the political class again, the massacre in Shakahola, which was weaponization of religion, which is the same way weaponization of religion was used to get the numbers. So my thoughts are all over the place. Let's not defend people because they are our own people. Let's give scorecards based on, if you're an expert of the law, go to the docket of law and let's give these people a scorecard. If it's the docket of economics, do that. My specialities is the human, it's the emotions, it's the life, it's the young generation. So when I come here screaming and say stop killing our children, is because I have fought for the rights of others, and now my children are out there in the streets and I want them to have a chance to live. So every time I see a missing person, every time I see a floating body, I say these people are tone deaf to what the Constitution stands for. The fact that someone can go on TV and say, I am canceling protests, and it takes a very brave young woman who is now the president of the Law Society to come and say, we are taking you to court. What do we see next? Anybody who is speaking. That's why I gave a disclaimer. We have a poster with people like Kivuda Kibwana as the most wanted criminals, like the people who are the reason why this this revolution, I'll call it its right name, because you cannot kill a revolution. You can downplay it. You can say, well, it lost meaning. It lost the opportunity. The reason is what you don't know, many Kenyans don't know, is what does not bother them. What does not affect them, they don't bother around. So people don't know about the human rights violations that are in this country. So we have social justice centers across the country. When you see someone like Wanjira come on TV and talk with so much passion, and then she's told she's disrespecting the president, is because she's dealing on a daily basis with the violation of rights of the people in Mathare, where they said, we are going to demolish 30 meters. And what did they do? They went 100 meters. Do you know what the difference of those 60 meters does? It just makes our whole population homeless. So we are not just going to have a revolution. All of us are going to humble ourselves and say we've been tone deaf to the realities of our country because we are busy thinking they are clueless. Some of them, yes, will come and talk to you and you will wonder what's wrong with you because they were not parented. Some of them, it's because of how we treated them, how we were treated, and how we spoke to them. I'll finish. Sorry, I've taken more than my 3 minutes. I'll finish with this. I spoke to a gentleman who told me, how can those young people talk to the president like that? And I said, how did they talk to the president? And he said, no, it's not an abuse because of the words they said. It's how they said it. And I asked him, how have the political class been talking to each other for the last 10 years? In fact, these young people are speaking with so much decorum. They're using the right words. What are the most learned people when they come on TV and people are weeping? So you're leaving pockets and pockets of angry people. So when you come here and say, let's tone it down, now the anger is less, the rage is less, it just increased. Because now people in Kware are angry. People in Nyeri, I know something happened in Nyeri. People in Rongai. So let's not just focus on the economics of our politics. These two political divides they always leave their people behind. I said I followed 27 post-election violence. What happened? And Raila went to a house of someone who had lost their child and said, I will make sure you're compensated. Now another parent is watching him. So sorry, I get a bit too worked up. I can talk politics, but I think I'm in the presence of great people. I'm just saying these young people have a cause. We are counting on them. We don't have their energy. We don't even have their skills. So every time people come here and say they have no strategy or the president has strategy, what he is a good schemer. He's not a good strategist because
kindly
when you have
land. We really need to start closing down. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Redemptor. It was a struggle to jump in because you were making great points. Thank you. Mizani, over to you. I think I had called on George and Xerox and Professor Ombati.
Yeah, let's have George coming in. George, do you mind 3 minutes? Kindly proceed.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Mizani, and brief scoop. I'm going to preface by saying I am the most unpopular person throughout this movement because I came up with two conditions that the Gen Zs have to adhere to if they want to achieve anything. And those conditions were they have to be organized and they have to be disciplined. And now I'm a little hesitant listening to the good man, Tony Gachoka, barrage the guy and say that he is irredeemably ignorant. And I truly fall into that category. But what I know for sure is this. I know opportunities when I see them. And the opportunity that the Gen Zs did have were the opening of the window for them to achieve greater things for the future generation by changing the articles of the Constitution that are no longer working for us. And even before there was any foot soldier on the streets, I had said we need to go in there and change the setup of the counties and reduce the governors to reflect 8 provinces. And because now we are a technological a village where most of the services are being rendered online, we do not need 200, 400 something MPs. We just need an MP from each district of the old days, 47 districts. And then we need the upper house of the senators, just 2 senators from each province. So 16 senators, 8 governors, 47 members of the lower house. And then we multiply by 10 the number of councillors because they are the people who are serving the people in their wards. And then we take the budget from lawmakers because it's not their job to handle money. Their job is to make laws and give that money to the councillors in the machinani. And it looks like even Tony Gachoka alluded to that earlier on today. And we have brought here Dr. Ekuru and another gentleman called Araha Adum. They were actually the people on the table when they were drafting the new constitution in 2010. We have all these people we can reach out to reshape the direction that we need our country to go. And I would really, truly want to hear what somebody with a great mind like Tony Gachoka has to say about making the movement about using Article 257 to change the constitution. Because, I mean, we have millions of people lining up to go demonstrate. How about those millions of people come up with picking up signatures so that we can force the IEBC to accept our motion to change the constitution? And the reason I became unpopular is because I was asking, why would you want to eliminate the president when he is the only one with the power to reconstitute IEBC? And why would you want the members of parliament to be sent home when they would be the ones working on the amendments of the Constitution that you want to envision for the 21st century. And so we have said so many things and a lot of emotions have been poured. But when we have great people coming on board, and I made a video the other day, I said, the people you need to make meaningful gains, they are already in the executive. They are already in the judiciary. They are already in the legislature. Find those people, align with them, and then rally around with them to make the meaningful change that you need. Because if this movement focused solely on eliminating wasteful possessions in the county devolution system and eliminating through the Constitution useless possessions of women rep and gay people reps and disabled people reps and one-eyed people reps, and minimizing the number of ministries, whatever you call these days, CSs, to a maximum of 14 inside the Constitution, so that you are constraining the president to abide by a mean and lean budget, that which is what caused the uproar, because the original complaint was you were complaining about wastefulness in government. The only tool that could have handled all those things in one sweep would have been the movement like the one of the BBI to change the Constitution to fit and eliminate those things that we do not want. And I would want to hear people who have better minds than mine tell me, why are we hesitant to approach the repeal of the Constitution, the amendments of those articles, so that we can empower the next generation of people to be in control of both the government, the size of the government, and the expenditure.
Thank you for that.
And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for that, George. Professor Umbati dropped. Unfortunately, we do have to close the space for now. We've come to the end. We are really out of time. I know the conversation is not over. Please join Mizani's space tomorrow. It's up there on the Jumbotron. It's at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. It will be discussing some of these things. It's focused on corruption, retooling, integrity, and accountability. We will continue these conversations. We'll have another space again. We'll have additional spaces, not just another space. We'll have additional spaces throughout the week, either hosted by myself, Briscoe, or Mizani. And as always, having discussions with Tony Gashoka and Wanjiro, who was in the audience today because she is otherwise engaged. So please, please, please follow us, follow each other, and Tony, and then Mizani, and then call it a night. Tony.
I just want to echo some things that George has said. There is a way through the Constitution for a people-led constitutional amendment that does not have to go to Parliament. And that is what Dr. Ekuru Akot had done with Punguza Mizigo, that if you are able to garner a question, 1 million votes for a question, the people of Kenya can sign 1 million of them, a constitutional amendment initiative that can then be approved by the IBEC and can go and gather the votes for a constitutional amendment. There is an avenue, there is the architecture in the 2010 Constitution for a people-led constitutional amendment that does not require Parliament, but that requires 1 million signatures, but does require the IBEC. Somebody had asked me earlier, and I think it was a Briscoe or was Mizani, about, I talked about the overhaul. And he was saying, okay, then after this overhaul, then what do you see? And George came and began to answer some of those questions, because the overhaul is really the cost of our expenditure as a country through the government. And much of the expenditure is a public wage bill, which then forces government to be punitive to the country, to pay taxation, to pay for this over-bloated government. And this over-bloated government, in a large part, is the 47 counties, which really should actually be 7. They were originally 8, but Nairobi should actually be a ministry under the national government, just like Washington, D.C. is under, in the U.S., is under the federal government. And Kenya can actually reduce its burden by reducing the counties to 7. It can also do away with the women rep and such positions, including the MCAs in the county governments, are a very big drain to the exchequer, as well as the over-bloated public service. These issues of expenditure added together with the issues of corruption, because the problem of expenditure in counties and in the central government are only there because people want to be in counties, want to be in the government, central government, to loot, because we live in a country where there is budgeted corruption. And therefore, if you are trying to remove these people from the counties and from central government, you are removing their way to eat. And therefore, the problem is actually a twin problem. It is overemployment and over-resourced counties and national government, but it is also the means upon which they loot us. So if we were able to deal with both, we would be able to deal heavily with much of the expenditure of government. Now, the overhaul that the Gen Z generation have begun by defeating the Finance Bill 2024 was to slam the brakes on government's appetite to tax them beyond their own resistance. They had already begun to tax macadamia, they had begun to tax cows, they had begun to tax M-Pesa. In other words, what the action of this protest did was to slam the brakes on the appetite of government to tax the public. And then the public is saying, now, having slammed those brakes, what are you now doing with the taxes you are now collecting? So the conversation we will have the next time we have a space, and God willing, is now that there is this revenue, where does it go and what does it do? And the question of wastage and corruption will become maybe one of the most important issues that can frame the Jay-Z's questions. When you come to a constitutional amendment, the other one was called Punguza Mizigo. Perhaps that was a good beginning. Today, it may be Punguza Kodi or Punguza Tax, etc. And finally, I want to come to the issue of why it is important to call out Ruto's cabinet debacle. This cabinet debacle was tone deaf to the country, because a president's job is to inspire confidence in his people and to be able to guide them where they want to go, not where he thinks he is. And sometimes when you bring hope, the audacity of hope, as Barack Obama wrote, a country can rise up and face its challenges. The president actually gave a finger up to the country by actually reinstating the people he had removed. He did not give a new chapter in order for this conversation to go ahead. What he did is he dug in and said, Mutadu. And I want to say today that my understanding of this reshuffle and the return of Kindiki and those people has been Mutadu. And therefore, the question now that Gen Z and this country must answer, are we going to allow the president to stop there, or are we going to go further and say, hold on, it's not just the cabinet, it is the expenditure and the wastage in government. With those many words, I want to thank the whole team, and Mizani and Brief Scoop and Wanjiru for putting this together. Thank you very much. In the words of Sir Winston Churchill, for those who will march and those who want to go ahead forward, he said that of all the virtues of a man, there is none more important than courage. So it is important for the young men and women who are out there and sometimes wonder that it is important to be courageous. Finally, it was William Shakespeare who said that they loseth that do buyeth with much care. This is a story of the man who wanted to save money so he could have chicken every day of his life. When he had enough money to have chicken every day of his life, he had no teeth to eat the chicken. So they loseth that do buyeth with much care. Good night from Tony Gashoka.
Tony, it's unfair to talk about chicken, and I come from a region that consumes chicken on every single opportunity that comes. And then you're here telling me I lose my teeth. I am offended.
and no less to Anavandu Bosi. Go ahead, Mizani.
Anyway, that was on a really joking note. Thank you, Tony, for your very engaging deliberations on this space tonight, including all the speakers that made time to be here. Our listeners, we don't take it for granted that you spent your time with us discussing matters that are emotive, matters that really are touching the heart of the nation, as we question the president and the current administration's heart on matters that concerns its cabinet recycling, if his ear is open to the reality of what we are facing, or is this simply an incompetent president and an incompetent government? So for that matter, we want to take this opportunity to thank you all, and we do hope if we raise questions, if you raise answers, they have been in one way or another addressing the issues we keep talking about. And if we didn't do that effectively, we request you to propose some of those solutions that we'll be looking at in the coming spaces. As of tomorrow, we'll look at a space on Mizani 254 that will be focusing on corruption, and it's about retooling integrity and accountability. Our guest will be Horton Irungu from Amnesty International, without forgetting Paula Kahumbu, who is a conservationist. And really, I want to invite all of you to that talk from 10 a.m. East African time. Much to be unpacked, and some of the questions that George was mentioning earlier on will be part of our conversation. See you then. My name is Likuyani Eli on behalf of Mizani 254 and Brief Scoop, who made this possible. We want to thank you. Have yourselves a great weekend. Na mujirushe. Lakini msianguke sana.
Lazima tunaanguka nayo. All that is left from me is to say thank you to my co-host Mizani, our top guest Tony Wanjiro for putting this together behind the scenes, producing all of this. Thank you to everyone who attended. Thank you to everyone who listened. And of course, thank you to everyone who made their contributions. Please, please, please do bear with us. It's never, this conversation doesn't end. We keep going. So we will be having discussions more than once. There's another one, as Mizani said, tomorrow. And we'll keep going the day after and throughout the week. So stay tuned, follow us, and stay tuned to all our notifications about additional spaces discussing all of these issues. Thank you so much. Have a good night, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. And tuendelee kuanguka nayo. Ruto must go, but more than just Ruto must go, we have to drain the swamp. We have to change the paradigm. We need a paradigm shift. Thank you. Good night.
President William Ruto's nomination of 6 members of the dissolved cabinet for consideration to form the new cabinet has fired up discussions on public platforms on the viability of their nomination, considering that it stems from a dismissal. NTV's Ibrahim Karanja reports on the differing dynamics and legal positions.
Moments after her nomination to serve in Kenya Kwanza's second cabinet, Alice Wahome took to the streets of Murang'a County in celebration and expressing gratitude to the president.
I want to take this opportunity to thank God for this second opportunity to serve the country, and then secondly thank the president, His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya, Mr. President William Ruto, for finding it fit to give me a second chance.
While hers was a physical statement, she was not the only one. Some of her former colleagues and co-nominees took to social media to give thanks to the head of state. Aden Duale said, and I quote, "I extend my deepest gratitude to His Excellency President William Ruto for nominating me as a Cabinet Secretary for the Ministry of Defense. This nomination reflects the President's and the Kenyan people's profound trust and confidence in my ability to advance our nation's agenda and more particularly the national security of our nation, hence contribute to its greatness. I am ready and willing to present myself to the National Assembly relevant committee for vetting and public scrutiny." On her part, Rebecca Miano said, "I thank His Excellency Dr. William Ruto for nominating me to the role of Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya. Granted the opportunity, I promise to apply myself fully to the tasks attached to that solemn office, with my focus being on serving the people of my beloved motherland with utmost dedication, humility and a listening ear." Soipan Tuya, still nominated for her previously held environment docket, said, "I take this opportunity to thank His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya, William Ruto, for granting me a second chance to serve our country in matters environment, climate change and forestry. I wholly commit to serve with commitment and dedication upon confirmation." Yet, even before Friday's naming of the first 11 nominees into the cabinet that saw 6 faces from the previous cabinet retained, some lawyers had taken to social media and sparked a conversation over the eligibility for reappointment of those dismissed. Former Law Society of Kenya President Nelson Harvey had on July the 17th said, "The dismissal from office of the cabinet secretaries means that they are ineligible to hold any public office forever, appointive or elective. They are in the same category as impeached governors or judges found unsuitable to serve. That is the law." His sentiment was quickly supported by senior counsel Abdul Nasir Abdullahi. The lawyers cited wordings in the President's Gazette notice as indicative that the dismissal was due to poor performance. Part of the notice reads that the President recognizes the overwhelming feedback of the people of Kenya on the responsiveness of government in the performance of its functions, and added that his actions are informed by his being committed to enhancing efficiency, effectiveness, transparency and accountability in public service delivery, realigning its governance structure and leadership so as to ensure rapid delivery.
Njaa inakuja because Ukraine ndio ilikuwa ina supply the entire world food, so we are going to fall in a crisis. So at the same time as people are pushing for change, there should be other people in the back end who are moving, so that we are moving in a synchronized manner, where even if as diaspora we can support with reading policy and kind of pushing in those documents where we can help you guys come up with recommendations and all, then it will make a difference where everything will just kind of work out and we won't be at a standstill. Things will still be moving. Hope that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. Zalendo?
Thank you so much, Ayo. I would like by saying this a unity call that a people united shall never be defeated. A people united shall never be defeated. A people united shall never be defeated. Guys, members, the only thing that will make Ruto, as the hashtag goes, Ruto must go. The only thing that will take Ruto out is the masses. Masses. I have seen KOT has done a lot of work today. He has applied a lot of things. Now let us, if we are occupying, let us occupy in masses. Let us occupy in masses. Like last Tuesday, I was seeing in town, it was like the forces were many than others, than the demonstrators. If we are occupying, let us occupy how we people of Kitengela occupied. Let us occupy venye sisi wa Kitengela tulioccupy paka tukawalemea, wakaita usaidizi at River, wakaita usaidizi Isinya, siji wapi, lakini bado hawakutoboa. Sababu gani? We were out in numbers, we were out in masses. Wakashindwa wafanye nini? So if we are occupying, let us occupy in numbers. Kitu ingine, tusiache hasira nyuma. Kenye ilileta French Revolution ilikuwa ni hasira. Kasirika na kila kitu Ruto amekufanyia. Kama mimi kenye Ruto ananiudhingi nayo zaidi ni housing levy. Nakata housing levy, bibi yangu anakata housing levy. Kwani hiyo kitu, yani hiyo kitu, anytime I remember the housing levy deduction, na siku ya maandamano na raukanga mbaya sana, na kesho na jana yake nakuaga nimejaza sick off ama nimejaza kitu ninaenda mahali. I always feel, ama hiyo siku nasemaga kwetu ni kubaya, nimeshikwa kwa barabara siwezi make. Tafuta kenye Ruto anakukasirisha nayo, toka na hiyo hasira, toka na hiyo hasira. Mimi utokanga na hasira ya housing levy. Hasira ya pili natokanga nayo ni hasira ya NSSF. Uhuru alikuwa ananikata NSSF ya 200, ananiacha vizuri nilishe familia yangu, lakini Ruto ananikata NSSF ya 2160. So he claims that he's saving for me na familia yangu ilale njaa. When I think of those two things, natokanga na hasira. Na hasira ya mwisho, for in the honor of the fallen soldiers, fallen 51 soldiers, toka na hiyo hasira. Try to imagine if it was your brother, if it was your sister, if it was your uncle, if it was your husband who is a breadwinner, ndiye ameshutiwa. So in the honor of those fallen soldiers, tutoke nje na hasira. Na kitu ya mwisho, for the sake of social justice in Kenya, Ruto must go. For the sake of better governance in Kenya, Ruto must go. For the sake of a brighter future for our children, Ruto must go. To end tribalism in Kenya, Ruto must go. To clean up the nation, Ruto must go. To end corruption, Ruto must go. To demand for accountability, Ruto must go. He just has to go. Alafu ayo, kitu ingine, Ruto, the next bombshell Ruto is going to throw to us is the return of chief cabinet secretaries, whom he, in his first press conference, he said he has suspended them. Remember, the cabinet ministers alisema amewa dismiss na amewarudisha, na wale wenye alisuspend atafanya nini? He will return them and show us the middle finger. Fanyeni kenye mtafanya, kwani mtadu. Jana nimeona office ya first lady inasema inataka 571 million kupay off workers. What bullshit is that? Kwani ya watu wanalipwa nini? Kwani walikuwa wamekaa miezi 10 hawajalipwa? Why require 571 million to pay? Kwani ni watu wangapi? Tunabebwa ufala, na sisi sote venye tuko hapa sisi ni mafala na tuko na ujinga, na hiyo ujinga inafaa tutoe. Tutoeni ujinga, tuweke makasiriko mbele na tutumie masses. Ruto must go. Thank you, Ayo and Afrocentric. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Afro, are you there? Afro? Afrocentric. Afro is away from his phone.
Ako mbali na simu kama kawaida yake. I think mumekuwa hapa for long, eh?
Afro, hebu patia Wanyama co-host. If you're anywhere around your phone, please send the co-host to Wanyama. But Wanyama, I've sent you the microphone. Just accept it. Meanwhile, let's hear from Achesa. No, not before Achesa. Let's hear from Axe Global. Sorry, Achesa, you come after Axe Global.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ayo. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for this opportunity. I've been listening, and guys, let me tell you, we're in the right cause. But what I can echo is this: we are dealing with a system that has always been there, and it's a system that has two major branches. We are dealing with the internal system, and we're dealing with an international system, the external system. You understand, and we have to counter at all cost. And this internal and both external and internal system that we are dealing with, as much as we are looking for good governance, which is our main cause, because there's many other causes, our main cause is good governance. That's what we demand, accountability and everything. These guys, they have their own what you call game cards. They have their ways of dealing with things, you understand? For me, I call them the algorithms of control, you understand? These guys, they'll try whatever it takes to undermine this this cause, whatever we are pushing for. And they're both using the same playbook. You know, if you look through how Ruto came into power, it's something like, if you really understand it deeper, you'll see the same thing he used is now what he's using into us, you understand, to counter us. And if you're careful, I know we are here to educate each other. There's a speaker who talked about this international body, the IMF, you know, having some sort of indictment, these big corporations, you understand. And these guys, they have some stuff, if I can echo, is I call them the algorithm of control. The first thing they're going to do, and these are things that are already playing out, and I want to educate you on this. Number one, they do what you call, they undermine the media, the people's faith in media. You understand? So that people can doubt the very nature of the truth that the media is exposing. Right now, if you are careful, you are seeing everything going around Citizen TV, Occupy Citizen TV, which is state-sponsored hashtag, which is they're pushing, using the government bloggers. Why? Because they have seen, like, of all the medias, I'm not saying all medias are good. I'm not saying actually medias that are kuna shida na sisi. But wakiona they are not playing with the tune, they start, they undermine them, so that people start doubting, like, Citizen is the bad. That's one thing, they control you. Another thing they're going to do is they're going to polarize, like, a faction in the society. Like, they create division. These people, they thrive in division. So how do they do it? They start bringing things like, now we have politicians against Gen Z, you understand? Now we have, like, these rich people versus poor people, middle class versus poor, at middle class. Hizi maandamano mtakuwa zinasikia tu, like, Gen Z skize wazazi zenu. They bring further analogy of something like this division, like Gen Z are on their own, you understand? And when they bring this, when people stop seeing the other side as humans, you know, what happens? The human they ride on that. That's what I was gonna feel like, we need to protect the police, our policemen, they're doing their job, you know. So they justify the right to shoot and to kill, things like that. So mtaona, like, hata kuna ya kuendelea na hizi maandamano, because kama kuna goons wame infiltrate It's no longer about us, you understand? The way they're coming in. Another thing that they're going to do is to marginalize the someone like, let's say, I'm using an example like Okiya Mtata, Gina Jimmy, expose here, the audience debt, everything. After that, once they've done that, what does the government do? They come up with a poster and put them, these are the real enemies, these are the people who don't want to work, you understand? So they make them look useless. The people, they try to bring like they're the face of the demonstrations, you understand? And then they do what? They undermine them, they make them insignificant, start doubting them. What happens to them? Oh, why can't you see them in the mandamanos? Why can't you see them in the street? You understand? Then from there, utakuwa like, manze. And when people stop listening to the experts, what happens? They become malleable. What's the meaning of malleable? They become easily controlled. They're like, you become sheeple, like you're the sheeps. They'll do whatever it takes. So that's why they always push for have leaders. Come up with the leader, so that we can communicate. Is that the last thing you need? You don't need a leader right now. The moment we come up with the leader, they're going to fight that leader. They're going to make your revolution looks being useless. Why? Because the leader that you're going to choose, for now we push, we move as a team. I think this is now for the international body. They apply the same thing. They identify a candidate in the presidential, because these are the guys who run. They have once they identify a country like Kenya and they know they have an interest in it, what do? They identify that candidate, and that candidate lazima kuwa ni mtu charismatic, mtu smart. If you look at Ruto is a smart guy, na mtu anasema si smart. That guy is smart and he's so charismatic, but he's easily controlled. If you look at the new CSS when you introduced, those are not the guys internally who candidate. Those are the people who supported him. So he had to obey, dance to their tune. You understand? And the international that helped him with the manipulating the IBC system, the servers, and all that. He has also obeyed, dance to their tune. So if you look at how Ruto came into power, he used this polarization function in that all along to make he used the dynasty. Oh, now we're fighting against the dynasty, bottom up, things like that. You understand? The tribalism, those are the politicians. That's what they do. So if you're going to dance into this, why am I talking about all this? So that you know. Mind tuned, you know what they are going to use, and once you know their game, trust me, you'll remain focused. So nikimalizia, how do we push for our agenda, guys? There's unity, there's power in numbers. Talk to your people, talk to your friends, talk to everybody. Let's go. 1 million strong was easy. Trust me. Policemen watu kidogo, the KDF hatuwezi. 1 million in the street. Mimi nitatokelezea this Sunday, this Tuesday, I'll be there. And I'll pick my friends and we'll be there. You understand? They'll try. Of course, there will be casualty and all that. Try keep safe, but numbers is everything. We need numbers. Encourage your fellow men. This revolution can stop. Thank you so much.
Asante sana. I want to pass the baton to Wanyama to co-host for a while I get something to eat and get myself cleaned up. Wanyama, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Ruto must go.
Kabisa.
How are you? Ruto must go.
Kazi safi. Thanks so much, Ayo. Thanks to you guys, manze. Nimekuwa hapa since the beginning, and it's a pleasure seeing these spaces running over and over and over. To anyone listening in, manze, ni nyinyi mnafanya tunaendelea na kazi hii. Kiswahili ni ngumu, guy. Kazi huu ama kazi hii. This is whatever we choose. Remember, mtindo ni ule. Let's keep the conversation going for an hour or two more. Then later we should be joining Polo Kimani's space to see what is happening in the mining industry. Hiyo inaanza saa 2 because whatever we get information, we flow, because this is the only weapon we have. Tulisema spaces ni sacred places. Now we will be at all times trying our best to push what we can. Information ikikuja tunasukuma. And be an active person. As you are in these spaces, be an active participant. So kitu ya kwanza cha kufanya, we chapa retweet about the space. Let's get as many comrades as possible into this conversation. Kitu ya pili, request for the mic. Niko hapa na kila mtu atapata dakika 3 tukisonga hivyo. Unagonga 3 muhimu ukisonga, unagonga 3 muhimu ukisonga, hivyo. Whenever we get someone who can give us an expert opinion as well, tunamleta into the space, because sisi wajinga pia lazima tusome hapa kule. You don't need to also be an expert to join the conversation. Just join and say what you feel, what you think. Whatever has been said, let's try not to repeat, because nimegundua tunaweka time mingi into these spaces for repetition. Try as much as possible, because paya wengine chance wanaweza kuwa na kitu mgeni sana ya kusema. Lastly, as we continue the conversation, remember to follow the host, that's Afrocentric. Follow us, the co-host as well, because we also host spaces in different ways. I mean, not different ways, different times. That was a slip of the tongue. Different times. My name is Wanyama Wafula, and the other co-host is Ayo, the 6th. Amechoka, but at least ameshikilia. So let's keep the conversation going. Sioni number of requests to the mic increasing. Please, bonyeza hiyo mic. It's the microphone on your left. Bonyeza. Let it come. Niko na 54. Push it to 100. Yes, the number is increasing. Unaona hiyo icon on the left of the space hapo chini, bottom left, bonyeze. Ukishabonyeza itakuonesha green tick. Kishakuonesha green tick, we have some etiquette. Tunangoja mtu akidrop hapa naongeza, like that. That's how the queue keeps going. I can only accept 12 speakers at a time. Until then, asanteni sana kwa kuuliza for the mic. See you on top here as you offer your opinion. Mzalendo, had you spoken?
Yes, Wanyama, I have spoken, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sasa drop to the listeners panel tupatie watu wengine mic spaces. Achesa, had you spoken?
No.
Wanyama, I'm gonna.
Wanyama.
Yes, Achesa.
Thank you very much for this another chance. I've been to another. Bado sikuwa nimeongea.
Okay. Sawa, dakika 3 up to nitafungua mic to. Yeah, leo sitaki kutumia time. I'll just tell you to land. So twende kazi.
Thank you. I'll be very strict to 2 to 3 points. One, there's 2 last speakers wenye walisema kitu muhimu sana. Kuna speaker mwingine alisema we occupy even schools. In fact, huyo jamaa anampatia 100% tick. When we say bring each and everything stand still in the whole country, total shutdown, mpaka huko, wacha watoto wasiende shule, so that the government knows that we are annoyed. That one, nobody should not reject it. Because as much as tunasema tunaenda JKA, kuna wengine inafaa waende occupy schools. Stage za mabasi, hakuna kuboard bus, sijui zinafanya operation. No, everything stands still. Yesterday, wale jamaa matatu walikuwa wameshapatia the gava a warning of 7 days kwa sababu ya mambo ya roads levy increase. We are not going to wait that. Tuesday nayo. The other thing, when tulikuwa tunaoccupy the parliament, it was very clear. Someone gave us a map, a rough map. The same map I have had one of the speaker, that is Eve, akisema kuhusu ukipita pale Utawala, kuna kapanya route kako pale you can occupy. There is another panya route at Cabanas. That's what we are going to use. Na ile jeshi ya Kitengela, we ensure that everything wamepata. Kama ni maji, we need to supply water for them. Wale watu wako abroad, kindly, it's our prayer, occupy hizo embassies. Let them know that we are getting annoyed. Now this thing, haisimami every day. In fact, someone told us that, in fact, inafaa to hold 1 week, full 1 week. And someone should not inflate this. Wale goons tafadhali, don't musikuje mukaguza kitu ya mtu. Sisi tuko na aim yetu. We are tired na tulisema mambo ya kurecycle. We don't want recycle. We want fresh faces. Baba Shalin is true, is a liar. He was trying just to play around with our mind so that tuone jinsi watakuwa na pressure gani. Hatusimami nayo. The last week we had a space yenye tulikuwa tunasaidia wasee na maji and so on. Kindly, Tuesday asubuhi, Afro na wale wengine na wanyama and so on. Kama mutahitaji maji and so on, tell us na mbio, teke. We should not waste. Hii time tuta waste on Tuesday to hold another space by latest 6 in the morning ama 7 tushachomoka. Thank you very much.
Asante sana Chesa. Asante for keeping time. Right on time, 3 minutes. Hakimu Andrews.
Yes, sir.
Hebu chukua dakika 3.
Oh, thank you very much. I want to begin by saying that goons, because that is the way the politicians operate, they will be unleashed. And therefore, we must, moving forward, when we see them, we should disarm them immediately and greet them, not to kill them or harm them, but we give them some small greetings, because they can never be as many as the JNCs. So we can never fear goons. Going forward, expect that the political class, we will unleash them to counter our means, for demonstrating. 2, there's somebody who said that he lives in the, I don't know, UK, and he was trying to show citizens in the UK the money that they give to Kenya, it goes to the billionaires. Maybe it is just a suggestion that I have. Going forward, I think if you can tell those people, because if you are in contact with them, tell them maybe to change their funding model. If at all they have to fund Kenya, if they have to give aid, let them change their funding model and focus on grassroots organizations, because these are the organizations that will directly impact lives of people here in Kenya. Then 3, I want to say that JNCs didn't die so that members of ODM can be appointed into cabinet. I saw you, Wanyama, saying that it is obvious that the remaining 11 slots maybe are meant for members of the ODM. They just want to see how we will behave so that they announce them. At worst, these are my sentiments, because we have been saying, oh, this president go, he fails to go. At worst, if even slots should be given to JNCs. Musalia Mudavadi went into cabinet at the age of 28 years. And the Constitution of Kenya 2010 says that a youth is anybody below the age of 35 years. We have so many people qualified, educated, we are experienced, who can actually serve. Because these guys who are going to be appointed in cabinet, some of them were governors. They looted their countries dry, and there is nothing that they can show. They went for 2 terms, 10 years, and they cannot show anything. They want now to go to cabinet and continue milking, the national coffers. That is very wrong. So I want to say, going forward, we must be very objective. Let us not occupy schools. Those are Generation Alpha. We do not have anything bad with them. We wish them good. We want them to acquire education. Let us not occupy schools. Let us give them an opportunity to learn. If we must occupy, let us paralyze roads, occupy roads, make sure that there is no movement. If there's no movement, people will not go to work. They will not collect revenue. They will feel the pain. And let me tell you something, they will act. But thank you. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I love the passion. I love how it was going. Keep the same energy yenye Akimu ameweka hapo hivyo. Mariam, I see you here. Mariamu. Dada vipi? Mariamu, Wairimu.
Yes, Wanyama. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. 3 minutes.
Okay, no, I won't even need 3 minutes. First, because I do have a very honest question that I wanted to ask you. I was hoping you come up, and I'm happy you're the one who's here. So my question to you, Wanyama, is: do you think we are communicating to the country and to the president clearly on what our grievances are and what we need to be done?
Thank you. This requires me now to be like, I wanted it to be a relaxed pace in to speakers as they continue. Now, I take sides in most of the things that happen in the country. Now, one of them is I had to come out openly to say that the president does several things. One is for him, let me actually focus on the only one thing, which is his JD, is to be an ambassador for the country. That's his purpose. That's his sole role, being an ambassador for the country. Take it like being an ambassador in diaspora, but this is an ambassador for home with some power and alignment powers. Now, when you're an ambassador, there are several people that actually surround you, from economic advisors, etc., etc. The communication team, and he was right to actually blame his communication team, because they have taken that role as solely to become like, communication is one way. Communication is like only what Ruto tells the Republic or what he wants to communicate. His communication team is supposed to actually take it in as well. Like watch what is happening. To some extent, it can be pushed to the part of propaganda. Propaganda on its own, Mariam, cannot work if it is one-sided. That's why it came to some point watu walianza kushukia the word propaganda. Propaganda is not really bad. It just depends on how it is being used. In this instance, I think the president is, one, either getting what we are saying clearly, it just doesn't resonate with him. And you can clearly see from chenye amefanya jana. Clearly, you can't be deaf. Even hata watu wenye walikuwa pro Ruto, mimi mnajua I voted for Ruto na nili apologize. Nimekuwa attacked severally for that. I did. Because at that time, what was the option? But saizi, watu wameanza kuchange. Si hata saizi, ilianza kitambo. If it gets to this point where hata Ahmed Nasir anakubali that there is probably a problem with Ruto, if he gets it wrong with the cabinet, then we can only go with option one, which I've given is it just doesn't resonate with whatever he does. Option two is maybe his communication team is not putting it directly to them. It's not. So is option mbili too. At the moment, we don't know, but my insistence is at this point, it does not matter what he does. It matters what we do as Kenyans, because clearly from time to time, ameshindwa cha kutufanyia sisi, because we can't keep asking over and over and over and over. Kila mwaka tafadhalini, kila mwaka turudi barabara ati occupy MOH. Ndio interns wakwe posted. Do we have to go to the streets every year for the teachers to get TSC options? Na tumesahau walimu sana. I need to host a space on that one as well. So, I don't really know. It just matters. The only hope we need right now is we have to do something. Because if we let it go, we will never get such a chance again. Na tunakuwa wazee. to be honest. One less than a minute, Mariam. I need to give people the mic. We keep this moving. I see your hand up. I don't want it to be a
Wanyama,
monologue.
I didn't even utilize my 3 minutes, but thank you for your answer. So, you've answered that question well, but very quickly, I wanted to say this. This is not a struggle between Mwananchi and Ruto. This is a struggle between Mwananchi and the system, because we all know that all presidents are presidents because they've been put there by the system, and that's why you see him struggling with firing some of the CSS, because they're the ones who put him there. That's what the system means. Those are the system. And the reason why I asked this question, are we communicating clearly to number one, Mwananchi, and number two, to the president, is because with time, you'll notice that we lose the goodwill of the Mwananchi because they don't understand the message Ruto must go, for example. If you ask anyone what they mean by Ruto must go, you'll get very many different answers. Some people will tell you Ruto haendi anywhere because there's no president who will ever step down. Another one will tell you we need the parliament to do it, but again, he has bought most of the parliament. And then some people will tell you that when we say Ruto must go, what we are trying to tell you is that we need to kind of have an overhaul of the system, to get rid of the people who are the bad apples. Everyone has a very different interpretation of Ruto must go. So that when it goes down to the Mwananchi, they're not understanding what your message is or what our message is. And that's why you're seeing we are losing their goodwill very fast. And the moment you lose the goodwill of the Mwananchi, then the struggle is dead. So what I wanted to say, Wanyama, is it's very important for us to, number one, know exactly what we want. We must package our message very clearly so that even the Mwananchi who is not on Twitter or X will understand what the struggle is all about. We can't leave it to everybody's interpretation. Number two, the president must understand what we want, because, for example, when you told him we don't want the CSs, aliwa fire, and then we were in the streets the next day or 2 days later. And then guys are like, okay, I'm of course, alafu you guys are back to the streets to do what? The same thing with the finance bill. Everyone thought it was just all about the finance bill. And after he shot it down, everyone is like, why are you still agitating? I think we do have a problem with the way we are packaging our message to the president himself and to the Mwananchi. And we are leaving a lot of the interpretation even to the president himself. That's why he had the audacity to bring back some of the people, because you can't give him a message and then have him interpret that message in his own way. So Wanyama, I had someone, I think, mentioning this thing of TOCG, some people are pushing for leaders, Nini. I don't think even it's about the leadership per se. It's about having something solid that you're pushing for and that can be achieved.
Mm-hmm.
Mimi, to me, that is very important, that you must have something that at least you can hand to the president or to the Mwananchi, and then you can hold the president accountable to that particular word. But ukiwacha to everyone's interpretation, I do think Wanyama will have a very big problem going forward, and probably we won't even be able to achieve much at the end of the day. But thank you. That's my submission.
Thanks, Mariam. I agree partly with what you have to say, and I'll definitely hold a different space on that one. We cannot say this is a simple conflict, and I want to answer this less than a minute so that we continue to the next speakers, because I want to keep the row going. The energy. Na msikunywe maji, mimi ukuwa na hiyo rule. Usikunywe maji, keep the anger coming. Usikunywe maji. Breathe in, breathe out, come to the spaces and speak. Breathe in, breathe out, come to the spaces to speak. So, sir, there is a confusion, and this is about the silent majority who are still in the dark. Now, to say assume about boomers only, it's also our fellow millennials and Gen Zs as well. We can't be assuming everyone understands, especially number one, the satire on the X platform, especially for KOT. Two, when you say Ruto must go, we can't also call for the same Ruto to make changes in the government. He can't make changes when he's still the president. So I can't agree what you're saying. So definitely we need to look at how clear we are putting Ruto must go. And the only way we are going to do it is through the spaces, because this is the one thing that is clearly moving things forward. But the silent majority is not only on X. We have TikTok, we have WhatsApp. If you check one of my other tweets is about we need to move it to WhatsApp. At some point we need to, and that is coming. It's something that needs to be organized, and it needs a lot of community-based kind of approach, bringing people on board, the information, the graphics guys who are coming on board to get the photos. We have to push to our parents. So it depends on what is happening. Not what is happening. It depends at what stage we are in. When we started, we were just chanting Ruto must go. As we keep growing, they are growing, but we are also growing. So let's proceed as well as in these discussions, hearing people out. We take notes as well. We take notes. See, ati mnakuja tu kwa hizi spaces na tusikizi. No, it takes a lot of collaboration in the DMs, in phone calls, etc., etc. We are not leaders. We listen to you, and we just communicate what you give as well. Naona hapa san ongea, alafu Dagi Mwale, and then Miss Kimathi will follow. Dakika 3.
Sawa, asanteni sana.
Put into the space, just keep retweeting the space. Na request for the mic. Hii request ni 62 pekee bana. Nataka ifike 100. Keep the energy coming. Keep the energy coming. Request for that mic. Ni hiyo kidude iko hapo on your bottom left. Dagi, dakika 3.
Mike, so Wanyama, thank you. Now, first of all, Ruto must go. My grandfather, you lied to my father, you lied to me, you want to lie to my son or my daughter? Ibo, no. For me, I'm happy my parents, they are 70 plus, but they know kwamba Ruto is a killer, Ruto is a liar. So when I see somebody coming here, kuja convince ati kwamba we go on dialogue, fanya nini, this guy doesn't listen. He only cares about himself and those that are around him. Right now, he knows he has the numbers because anajua ameweka Raila kwa mfuko. So he knows that Raila's goons watafanya nini? They will counter. But we are stronger than them. We will win. We must have a directive. Hii mambo kuja mtu anasema tupeleke twende mara occupy tena shule mara sijui wapi. We have to know where to hit, where it hurts most. You understand? For me, as I said in one of the speeches some time back, I don't care if my daughter, my son is going to stay at home for the next 1 year for the systems to work. Because this recycling. Ruto ameshikwa makende. Let me use that word, and I'm not apologetic to it. Ameshikwa makende na kina Duale na kina Kindiki. Remember, Kindiki was Ruto's lawyer at the ICC. Duale said, kama watu wanakumbuka, the only time he will leave politics is when he sees Ruto is the president na amefinish term zake. That's when he will retire from politics. That means those people knows Ruto very well, and he cannot dismiss them. He cannot, because once he does that, no maana tuchezea mchezo hapa. JKIA, let those flights land. No coming in, no going out. Wacha niggas land, yes. But ikisha land wanaenda wapi? They have to use Mombasa Road. Kule kuna kale katani kako pale paitwaje hapa. Pale Cabanas pale ndani hapo hivyo. Pale Taj Mall. That place must be also be occupied. No exit, no entry. These major roads, they have to be occupied because wametuzoea. Ruto has done his things. Serious. How are you going to negotiate with Ruto in the first place? Nini mnaongea Ruto? He doesn't care. So, hakuna kusema si tufanye no. We have objectives and we know where to occupy. And not Tuesday and Thursday. That will lose the momentum. You have to come out each and every day. Nimemaliza.
Asante sana Dagi. And by the way, I'm just giving 3 minutes because I want to give as many speakers as possible a chance to come and just share their views. On the Jumbotron, I've put in a tweet. to some extent, I feel like we have forgotten also the other people who do not really have a lot of voice on this platform. So our small wigs, when you're still missing, miss your small wig na big wig inamaanisha nini. But if anyone is missing, post on that thread. We will keep amplifying until those people are found. Just go and comment on that tweet that I've put on the Jumbotron. If you're not able to see it, just go on my timeline as well, and you'll get. It's a thread of everyone still missing. Post them here and DM me whether big or small on this app. Miss Mwati. Not Mwati, Miss Kiman. Miss, that name always beats me. Miss Kimanti. Hey.
Kimanti, yes, thank you. Thank you, Wanyama. Thank you, everyone. Let me start by saying, I feel like Ruto is taking us for a fool, and he's really going mad, honestly. If he's not mad, he's going mad. Anyway, every day I come here, I always talk about civic education and mobilization. And Wanyama, you've mentioned WhatsApp. When this started, we had started WhatsApp groups for Gen Z, where I was trying to get people to get into many WhatsApp groups as possible, so that if you get lost, you can be able to write. If you get arrested, and if your friend gets lost or arrested, you can be able to like write on the WhatsApp group. Then an idea came up to me, Juicy. So I have started mobilizing youth to create groups in their own outskirts, in the outskirts of Nairobi, mostly na zile places zingine zote, so that people can have different groups za WhatsApp, so that people can join, where you share information. Na mi najua kama hapa kwa kwetu, I know like 10 Gen Zs. Of course, kama nilienda maandamano na Ayo and Wanyama, I know that asiporudi and I text him and I'm not reaching him, nitaandika kwa group niulize. So allow me to read. I read really fast. I hope 3 minutes hazitaniishia as I read, because this is what I have come up with over the last 48 hours, and that's what you're trying to do. We are few groups in. We are trying as much as possible to reach Gen Zs wakuwe na as many groups as possible. So nimeandika tunaorganize ma groups za mtaa za nje ya CBD. Ni muhimu kwa groups za area yako during hii maandamano for safety, mobilization na kuhakikisha kila mtu ako sawa. Plus mtu akipotea itakuwa easy kunotice in time and we report. Pia kupeana saiki ya kutoka juu hautarudi home peke yako kwa sababu ya uoga. Kama uko kwa hizi areas, share link ya group yenyu. Kama hakuna group, tutatengeneza moja. Now, of course, msiogope DCI, because everyone is like, tukiingia kwa hizi groups DCI, these people have been here hata huku. Sisi ndio wengi kualiko. So, I have written the areas kama Kayole, Komarok, Dandora, Umoja, Kariobangi, Buruburu, Embakasi, Donholm, and all places. Every party that. This will help us to kuena many people as possible, because we need numbers for us to occupy JKIA. Now watu watusikie, we need wherever we are occupying, we need a lot of numbers. So this is a part of mobilization, where ukiwa kwa group yako na unajua kuna watu huko ushagua wako kwa groups, ukipata hiyo information unaambia vijana kaa 10. And Wanyama, I'm going to use an example. Wale watu walivotia Ruto last year, last election, watu walikuwa wameconvince. I had people convince 100 people. I know someone mwenye alisema aliconvince over 100 people avotie Ruto. Na ungekuwa na contrary opinion, hata ungetandikwa. So what I'm trying to say, that same energy we used that time, we need to use the energy right now. Kuna watu hawana simu, kuna watu hawaingii X, kuna watu hata hawana WhatsApp as we know. Kuna watu wameibiwa masimu. Kuna watu wanaogopa kutoka because wanaogopa kurudi peke yao. So guys, we need to get into these groups. Personally, I'm in like 3 WhatsApp groups where we are sending that so that we can get. Right now, I have links for Thika Road. I have links for Machakos. Yes, people are creating links wananitumia, then I share links hapa kwa Twitter. I've been sharing links watu wanaingia so that you can be able to know. So without kuongeza more, please get like 10 people. Make sure uko na 10 people and more tukikuja Tuesday. Thank you and God bless.
Asante sana Miss Kimanti. I'm now known your name. Asante sana. Albert Nsengu. Albert the Menace.
Sorry. It's taken a bit. Wanyama, I wanted to pick on where Mariam had actually left here. Thanks for the speaker option, of course. But I wanted to pick at where Mariam had left. Not voice of reason, but rather I want to not really critic, but also question a few things, and the pragmatic side of everything. I understand the previous, not the immediate previous speaker, but the other one who was actually agitated and saying they want to cross the road at City Cabanas and all these other places. Echoing Mariam's question, what are the irreducible minimums? Like, what are we demanding? How is the message Ruto must go going to be affected? So do we really mean Ruto must go home? Or how is the message Occupy City Cabanas or Occupy Parliament or something packaged? I've seen Occupy somewhere started as a peaceful way of occupying somewhere, but we now know clearly that people are now using it to actually be violent or actually be violent against these people. You've seen now I've seen also Gaido pushing Occupy Boniface Mwangi's place, Occupy Kai and Cairo's business or such a thing. So then it becomes something that is so vile, so then it's a revenge tactic. It's Occupy the parliamentarians' home, so we are going there to burn their home, or we are going there. So it's like a code word for the violence. But at the same time, we want to have a peaceful country, and we want to say Ruto must go home constitutionally or such a thing. So I think there are double standards. Only a lot of very big, I don't want to call them bigwig, but it's so funny for me looking at everything. Very few people, of course, who own the organizations or the social justice movements are winning in this. People are moving out. Of course, they're inciting the youth. The youth are stepping out, of course, to go and push the agenda. But as we saw clearly in the past week, Ford Foundation is paying. Other people are paying. Donors are paying. Twitter, like people on Twitter or diaspora are also contributing. So there are people actually getting funds out of everything, but at the same time, printing T-shirts and doing everything. But at the same time, they are you, the street, trying to push a narrative that has no end. Like there's no end to this. The end is we can protest and we can picket, yes, but we can do it peacefully, and we cannot expect that the president will actually step down and leave the presidency. If we want to do it constitutionally, let's elect him, let's not re-elect him in 2027. It's fair enough. It's following the constitution. It's only 2 or 3 years down the line. But now we are only 2 years off politics, off the ballot. And now we are back to the cycle of politicking in the country. We are back to the cycle of agitation. People are not being productive. We are losing businesses. We are losing lives, which is a very important thing. For no reason, for a president that will still stay in power until 2027, and we will have a chance to actually remove him out of power. So for me, it's a bit ironical, and I really don't get the end game out of this. I really despise the diaspora that has been pushing this agenda for so long. I despise them for so much, a lot that I've even not spoke on their platforms, because they're fueling or inciting the youth in the country. I understand that there are issues accountability, but we expect the same president to look at the issues accountability. So we can protest, we can do whatever, but let's have petitions. Let's write something to him. Like Mariam said, let's write something and say, okay, this is the reducible minimums, and we expect you to work on these things in this time. He dropped the cabinet. Of course, there are political players, and remember, appointing CSs is a political space. It's not
it's not, he won't appoint everyone in the country. So it's a political space. He will choose technocrats. Akina Kindiki are all technocrats. They are professors in the field that they're working in. So we cannot really now start thinking we want him out, but at the same time we want him to appoint people that we don't know. And if we propose, then we are asked to propose these people, but we don't propose people that we want, but we wait for him to act. So I don't want to sanitize the president. I understand he has some work to do, of course, to clean the corruption issue and accountability issues, which I also support. I am happy the bill was dropped, which was good. And now let's focus on institutional ways of actually winning the next strides rather than actually incite the youth to be out on the streets. For me, that's it. You'll be out on the streets peacefully, I'll support it. But being out on the streets to occupy somewhere, to burn businesses down, to now start fighting against each other, I feel like it's getting messy, and I don't like such. Thanks
Albert.
Yeah.
Me personally, and I want to answer you as I go to the next person. I'm not full of answers, but this is how I've been seeing people trying to be on the borderline or try to push the side of the leaderless kind of thing to come to their side. One is, I've been reading what people are saying. So, especially on the Kindiki matter, the others like Aden Duale, etc., me, I don't want to go there because it's clear they are not fit for purpose entirely. We are looking at these things from the point of, let me just finish first.
Let me ask as you answer. Yeah. Have you seen the Somali business? Not really Somali. I don't want to tag them Somali, but rather the Kenyan Somali businesses that have risen up in the east side of Nairobi. You've seen what Isili has become. Don't you think those are capital owners? A whole block of voters, a whole block of capital owners in the country. The businesses are running. You've seen how many buildings in Kilimani or Kilelesha are all owned by a certain group of people.
But my question is this, and this is where I come in with. I really need very clear communication. What is the relation between Aden Duale and the Somali community? He comes from there, but what is the relation with him being in office? Those are two
capital owners. Owners. We have to understand the country is not run by.
That is what we are trying to remove from the government of tokenism. That is what is ailing Kenya. The next thing is,
you know what the Rockefeller Foundation
we will easily say as well, using the same narrative, and I'm taking time to answer Albert because this is a question I get in all the different spaces. I can easily say Luyas are also majority. In one way or another, they deserve something. Do I support Papa Roma being in speaker position? No. As much as he's been in foreign affairs for years and years and years. You can easily just jump in and say, okay, since he's been in foreign affairs for many years, he demands that he has the numbers, and Luyas also have businesses, etc., etc. He needs to be in that office. Those are very risky lines that we are. It's like one thing is leading to another. If you talk about capital owners and they want to be in one space, we'll have to bring in tribalism as well. So I really don't want us to go there. Lastly, it's this. He who comes should come with clean hands. Kindiki, from the beginning, people have been pro-Kindiki. But is there goodwill? That's what we are speaking about. Is there really goodwill? Or is he there to do the master's bidding? That's the confusion that is there with the Kindiki appointment. It's not all these other things of people saying, oh, left, right, and center. There's a lot of people with a very good CV in Kenya, by the way. Very, very many. So let's look at these things clearly, logically, and as much as there's emotions involved in them, and we have a voice. And I said, when we come to these spaces, and the reason why I'm looking at clear communication is this: people hustle to come to buy bundles and come to these spaces. So whatever we are pushing, let's push it very clearly and avoid gaslighting in different spaces as well. I been around the diaspora community for some time, and Albert, you of all people should know that because we've been running around in this diaspora community spaces, even meetings, etc., etc. I was doing even diaspora opportunities at some point. it's one delicate community, but very important in terms of how they try assist some things back home. So we are already past the point of pitching the diaspora against the ones at home. This is Kenya, whether you're in diaspora or whether you're at home. But in the spirit of keeping the conversation going, I really need to go to the next speaker so that we get as many views as possible. And guys, when you come here to the speaker panel, remember, attack the idea, not the person. So let's keep the conversation.
Wanyama, I don't have a right of reply.
Less than a minute then. Less than a minute. I'm not even going to respond to it. Less than a minute. And I'm serious on that one.
Okay, easy, no problem. Thanks. Right of reply. Of course, I know we've run a lot of spaces on diaspora matters. What I'm calling incitement for me is, yes, I know with diaspora support a lot of things that are happening in the country, but I understand that the diaspora in a way becomes a woke part of the population, of course, because they are out there living in a different political jurisdiction or political climate in different countries. Yeah. So if a diaspora is in Europe, they expect that what's in Europe could actually be happening in their home country. So they wish the home country well, I understand, and they wish that things could be done differently or faster, or maybe as in their home or as in their host countries. But I understand that also there are home realities that sometimes we are blinded to. And the realities are the politics have been built for so long on a certain trajectory, which is so hard to break from, if not given time. Time should tell that something is been that a leader is actually moving away from the old type of doing things. But we don't expect that now. We don't expect that we are out on the rise. We complain and we say, okay, the president drops the whole cabinet, and then we say, okay, now he's going to appoint fresh new people. What does fresh new people mean in a docket? What does it mean in progression of the agendas that were there in government? You know, there are a lot of things that actually are in leadership, and let me just drop it there, because I think we really put a lot of weight on a number of sentiments that are put here. But if you really sit in some of these leadership roles or classes, then you really understand that it's not as easy as ABCD or biting your apple and going home. The president, you've seen how bad the president is becoming day in, day out, even on matters health. It's not, leadership is not what you think. I just drop it at that. Okay.
Thanks, Albert. I don't necessarily agree with most, but for another time. Hirad.
Thank you very much for having me. Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear. Like a tattoo. Yeah. 3 minutes.
Yes, thank you very much for that. I would like to, add, my political point of view, and also to understand, what is, the agenda, what is the conclusion you want to reach after all these demonstrations, and we know Africa, the most of the political parties are tribe societies pushing one man because of believing they are from one tribe, and the others try to take the power from using a tribal political parties. So do you think you can educate your members and those who want to participate this kind of civil resistance in order for you to change the corrupted institutions that's been in place for quite a long time, instead of targeting just a one man? Do you think you can create a local groups who understand the difference between tribal political parties and the national interest, where you can have everyone on board, instead of just some sort of group which looks like sometimes they are aggressive and violent? So why don't you try to educate the members who want to participate this kind of civil resistance, and to have a guidelines what to do or not to do where you are aiming, is it possible? And, that the current president is going to step down. Is that possible in this situation in Africa at this moment? So, do you think you are doing a lot of effort which have no conclusion? I came from Somalia 22 years ago. What we have seen in Somalia, in Ethiopia at the moment, in what's going on in Kenya, Sudan, everywhere, group of political, leaders are trying to, overthrow president. In order to do that, they are violating all the institutions, the peace and stability, the interest of the country, the national interest, the people's safety and security. So what I'm trying to say, do you have a proper plan that you can explain? We are people above the tribal issues, and violence. We are aiming this and this. We want to reach this by that time. We are some sort of people who have programs, educate